Whenever you're.
Okay, so I would like to call this meeting today, November 12th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. Okay. So right now I'm moving to any public comments.
None.
Next section, any public hearings?
None.
None. Okay, moving on to the next section, approval of minutes of previous board meetings. And then do I just move on?
So.
I move to approve the minutes.
1 second.
Okay. On to the next,
And we'll just take a vote.
okay.
Aye. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Raise your hand. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Alrighty, and then on to the next section, information on discussion items. Update from the park supervisor.
Thank you.
Hello, Adrienne Orjin, Public Works Administrative Assistant for Parks. For regular updates, and I ask in the name of David to please excuse him. Part of the update and the reason why he's not here today is because the storage shed for the parks equipment is being moved at this time from the yard to the Coconut Park. Another update is soccer season is over, and so the Parks Department is already gonna start winterizing all the parks. The second update is that the scoreboard from the international field has been taken down already, and then they're gonna be initially installing the new scoreboard that the city has provided and purchased. The Pueblo Nuevo electrical work for the pavilion right now has been approved and we're getting ready to start. We're just pending on the CT Electric because right now we gave priority to the power pedestals that he needs to work on in order to have him ready for the art walk. Manual pane sidewalk is approved as well. That is the one that's gonna be connecting the sidewalk from the main walk onto the manual pane field. We're just waiting on Ryan's schedule. And that is the one that got approved for that job. For the bathroom enclosures, we've been having difficulty getting quotes returned back. So far, only one company has returned that quote. We're giving a little bit more time or extending the time to see if any of the other companies that we approached can go ahead and give us another quote. If not, then we're just gonna go ahead and go with the one that did submit something and try to move forward as quick as possible for the bathroom enclosures at Pueblo Nuevo. Pretty much for update, that's pretty much it. The only thing that we were kind of wanting to follow up is the manual pane scoreboard was approved for a donation from the sports board, I believe the baseball board. So we don't know if that's gonna still go following how it's gonna go with the school doing some of the taking over for the fields there. So wanting to get more information on that before we move forward. And that's pretty much it as the regular updates. However, we do want to approach some of the updates for us to move forward. And just bear with me, I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of review on my outline of it. We're kind of proposing for the facility reservation procedures to be updated. The last time that the procedures were updated was in 2022. And automatically what that follows with the procedures, which if you would like to see later on the procedure copy, I did bring it. And I also brought the copy of the ordinance because we're also going to request that the ordinance be amended, and the reason for that is because there's a couple of things that we need to, that we are recommending that gets stipulated and written in the ordinance.
Adrian, if you don't mind the interruption, I'm sorry. Right now, we're on the update from the parks, and that's actually the next item. So if I just wanted to give the board the opportunity to ask any questions on the parks update, and then we could officially move to the regulation.
Okay,
The reservation, if that's okay.
Do you have any questions on the park updates?
I do. Like we were just talking about, an update on the pool.
The pool,
Yes, ma'am.
okay,
Where we're at.
I didn't come prepared, but I can give you, pretty much out of the top of my head,
Mhm.
things that are getting updated. And mainly the reason is because I was getting more prepared for the pool, for the council meeting,
Okay,
part. But so far, we had other quotes that came in as far for the leak repair. We did request those quotes for two other companies aside from the one that was presented last time.
Mhm.
That was the first one, the one that was recommended from Phoenix. Can't remember the name. But the other two are from the Odessa area. They're different type of coatings. The first coating that was presented on the last council meeting was pretty much over the phone, giving them the information that we had from the inspection.
Mhm.
And they stipulated the 11,800 along with the possible 6,000, recommended 6,000 additional costs for them to do their own leak inspection. Or the possible additional 6,500 for work that might be more than what they expected. And I believe it's called, they called it, can't remember the exact name of it, but it's pretty much in case they get there and it's more than what they expected, they're just anticipating 6,500 on it. So which brought us to an in-between range from 17,800 to 18,000 or so forth. The second quote was more of a second level type of repair, and that was plastering the pool, which is demolition of the old plaster and replastering it all. Although that was not recommended by the inspector who inspected the pool originally, which is Mr. Donnie. The third quote we wanted to get with like the full repair. And the full repair would be like anything possibly needed, so we won't have any problems later on, right? The only fallback that I've gotten is that the third company that I requested the quote from, they have not been returning my calls. So this is after numerous emails and phone calls, and the last thing that they let me know was that they were gonna need a quote in order for us to pay them, for them to come do an actual estimate here at the pool. And we agreed, it was approved that we will be able to get them to come over here. However, I still don't get a call back after that, and it's numerous emails. So then trying to speed up the process and not having to wait just on that one, I requested a full quote and a person on site quote from the second company that did turn in for the full plastering, demolition, and everything. I explained pretty much what was recommended by Mr. Greenway as far as like, okay, we understand you gave us that quote, but would you be able to come down here and give us an on-site quote according to the recommendations of Mr. Donnie and with all the specs that would need to be fully repaired? They agreed, and they already sent me a quote to be able to come over here and then be able to draft and meet with him personally. The only thing on that is that I will need to confirm later on with Mr. Donnie on his estimated quote that was already approved and a purchase order is already acquired for it. Because on that stipulation, it's stipulated on the bottom that that consultation fee was gonna be for the company that did not respond. So I would just need to clarify that that consultation quote that got approved with the purchase order will still be okay to be used for this other company, or if we will need to do another one. Another thing that I also had in question as far as the leak repair that I was going to bring forward was, since that happened, that third company didn't respond and we're using already the second company that's willing to do a third quote, should we do another, try and look for another facility? He did provide other companies that might be able to do the full repair as well. Would that be advised? I can definitely do it, but then with that, I would have in question, would another additional consultation fee go with that? Or would it even be feasible for me to try and get both companies at the same time to meet with him in order for the whole thing to be done? So I'm kind of like, how do I move up that? I can just go with this second company, or I can bring another company to do it. But that will be another quote for them to come in person to inspect it and do their estimate, and then also whether it will be with Mr. Donnie present. So that's with that. That's just the leak repair. We've already gotten quotes. What I'm doing is getting quotes for other repairs that were needed from the last update that I gave, and I have included some other items on that area, which I can provide at the next council meeting. I've been getting a quote of all the repairs because I want to be able to do like a overall cost analysis of everything, so we can get a better picture of all the costs that are gonna be with all the repairs that need to happen in order for us to be up to code. Not in code violation, as far as the repair part of it. With the code violations, however, there's another thing that I will be updating with the primary. Even if we get the pool restored and everything, we're still needing to be brought up to code. So we won't be in violation without like the documentation. I'm pending a quote from Mr. Donnie as well, because he's familiar with how to create those binders, those legal documents, and everything that needs to be done for the written part of it. Because how I've been mentioning all around, and Eddie and David agree with me on this, is that we can repair the pool. We can definitely have a new one. But just like using the analogy of a vehicle, we can have a brand new vehicle, but you will still get in trouble because you can't use it unless you have insurance and the proper documentation. And so that's my thought. I know we want to open for the community, but at what point were we risking ourselves being in code violation? And I do have this next part I am going to mention with council meeting at the executive meeting, because we already have had emails that kind of reported that certain members of the community are aware that we might not be up to code on certain documents and procedures and standards. And so me, with having a dental healthcare background and having to deal with policies, procedures, and making sure my dentists don't get sued, right? I know that whenever we have anything in writing, it's pretty much courtesy. And you have typically a whole year to get that done. And then if by the following year they check up on it, everything's the same and you're still in code violation, you don't have them in order, then they legally can't move forward with any legalities, you know. So I want to prevent that. I want to take whatever concerns and reported specific identified code violations really on high priority. like I said earlier, if we have everything repaired, to me, it doesn't matter because we're still risking not only community, but legal actions if we're not up to par with codes on documentations, policies, and everything that need to be done. In order for whoever the recreation coordinator is gonna be, can be able to keep going and make sure that we're up to standard on that. There's a quote that I did request Mr. Donnie to see if he can go ahead and create all these books and binders and drafts and policies and everything, and just have our recreational coordinator just keep up with it. Because right now we're uncertain, and that's another thing that we're gonna discuss later. We're just uncertain if they will be able to or not. So we're trying to discuss where we can go about that. As top of my head is pretty much going down the line. It will be all the legal documentations, pending on that. Number 2, the leak repair, already reviewed that. Number 3 will be any suggested repairs that we needed that are not code violations, like for instance, the countertop that has broken tile and stuff like that. Again, I'll be getting quotes and everything to see what it will cost for us to repair it, if possible, in-house, or if we need to get someone to repair it, broken tile and the counter. I mean, anybody can get injured with it. I just want to make sure we have everything taken care of. And suggestions as they were suggested on the update that I submitted, like for instance, restoring the bathrooms, the urinals, proper signage. That's on something also that I'm pending to get a list of the specific signage and according to what is recommended. We have signage there. I want to clarify that we do have the signage, but there's certain specifications on the lettering and or what exactly needs to say for it to be translated in English and Spanish, when you have to have multiple signage in the pool for it to be up to code. So that's something else I'm pending. And that's top of my head, that's pretty much it. Any questions?
I do have a question. I know that the Sul Ross pool in the last, I don't know, year and a half had to have some extensive repairs. Is that, and that person, whoever came, is familiar with this area at least. Is that a company that we have considered at all for potential use?
Yes, actually, that is the first company that I reached out that I mentioned, the 11,800 plus possible additional charges that we'll be needing, bringing it to possibly the 18,000. And or possible more depending, once they're here. That is one of the companies, yes.
Then I had another question. At what point in terms of when you start getting into all the different expenses that it sounds like are accumulating for these different levels of priority 1, 2, and 3, at what point might the city decide to pivot and maybe make an arrangement with the Sul Ross pool, or is that in any way, or is there a pocket of money that we have somewhere that we can it's set aside, ready to be spent?
The city council is currently considering a budget amendment on the 18th, which would potentially allocate $50,000 to the pool.
And your estimate so far from what's been so far, kind of do you think that that's sufficient?
No,
Okay,
But it's a start because
Okay.
we have endeavors that we're trying to get done, and we're at least they've identified those funds and they have identified other funds that might be able to be used for that.
okay,
mhm.
thank you.
To add, it's not, depending on what is decided about additional funds aside from the $50,000, if that's gonna be able to be awarded for the pool. Depending on the time that it will take for those arrangements and, getting your quotes and getting all that, I really don't foresee and don't recommend us opening for 2026.
But that's gonna be a discussion the city council will have. We're holding a discussion about that. So we're in the planning phase and, we're considering all of the staff feedback and the community, because it's a very integral part of, the fund that we have that we can offer the residents. So
We're pretty much trying to get all the ducks in a row to try and make the best decision for our community.
we're aware that there's a lot to be done. So we're trying to work towards getting that done. And we're gonna hire the recreation coordinator soon, hopefully, and get that all squared away, so that could definitely help out. Alrighty, did you have anything else on the floor? Did you have a
So-
question?
The code violations that are presented, are there some that, I mean, I'm trying to figure this out, like, some that are really major and some that are minor
Mhm.
to keep things from, you know, from us from moving forward? Like, is there any way that maybe we can look into taking care of the bigger stuff that really needs to get, to, you know, that are major, instead of trying to throw everything all together and say, you know, you have some really small, you know, minor code violations that really doesn't. I mean, they're code, but something that's not gonna hinder like the use and everything. I mean, is there certain levels of code violations, like this one's major, we gotta take care of this, then kind of going down and going, all right, well, these down here are very minor, something we could take care of at a later time, you know, just to see if we can proceed faster. And I know as a council, you know, we're gonna do whatever we can to try to get it going, because this is a big part of this community, you know,
Yes.
really is not, we don't have anything.
Thank you for that question. First of all, I would like to confirm the code violations, are you referring as far as the repair code violations for the actual premises and building, or are you referring to the code violations as far as documentation and legal paperwork?
Both, I guess. I don't know. I mean, so documentation, that's probably major. I mean, that one's number one, to get that taken care of before, I guess we have to take care of that before we're able to actually take care of. So, yeah, I guess that answered my question. Yeah, I guess.
Can you give me an example of the documentation stuff? I'm not, there, like, what type of thing would that look like?
It is documentation that is by law required, Texas law regulations, and again, I'm sorry, I wasn't aware that I was gonna be discussing the pool part. So I don't have that sheet.
It's like an emergency action plan,
Okay.
you know, that they have to have a certain number of training every month and.
It's policies and procedures is the standard procedures for them on as far as not only for training, but it's also as far as like what is expected from the lifeguards, the type of training and how often the training needs to happen. The things that are required, such as like for first aid, for like your AEDs,
And
all that requires
we don't currently-
documentation for that. No, ma'am.
don't have
If
to
there
do that?
was, if there was, at a point was pretty much whenever the pool got installed and all that first got started, I'm sure that there was, you know, all that done, but throughout the years, it's been so many years and so many changes on staff and everything in the big bolt of records. Where is it? You know, we went from paper to computer within those years. So, we haven't been able to locate it. And I was aware during my hire here, and that's where we're kind of like, whoa, hold on, step back, because now we don't have anything that really says do what are our protocols, what is the rules, or even a way for our staff now and future staff to know what they need to do and what needs to be.
Yeah, and again, I
Done.
think we're aware, I think we might be discussing this a little too much in length, I think we're aware of issues and we're taking steps to address them appropriately. And I'd like to limit a lot of the code violation discussion, being that, you know, we're working with our attorney to make sure everything is done. We wanna have that discussion in executive session with the city council, so.
Okay.
Right.
Did that
Yes, ma'am.
answer your
Yes,
question?
ma'am, it did.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, now we move on to the next discussion item regarding City Fields reservation processes and procedures. Discuss proposed amendments to the current processes.
Okay, now we can go back to that. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. This I was prepared. And please feel free to stop me at any moment and I can go back. Given the consistent growth and participation with our athletic leagues and specifically the increasing number of teams and volunteer coaches that the Parks and Recreation Department has had this recent year. We definitely noticed that we are, needing to update the amendment to the ordinance and the procedures. Like I mentioned before, the facility reservation procedures last update was on 2022, and I did bring a copy if y'all would like to review it now or towards the end. So pretty much 2022 was the last date the procedures were updated. That brings obvious updates that need to be written and stipulated in the ordinance, like that we have everything in writing and there's no question. And pretty much those are as follow. Revision of the Coconut Park use of restrooms. With this, we've been having many complaints, and so we're suggesting possibly adding a hand wash station to the portable restrooms, since we know that we have plumbing issues for the reason of not opening the public restroom building there. And with that, we would want to have it in the ordinance and procedures, so there's no question with that. The number 2 is the addition of the following stipulations for our existing parks and recreation ordinance. With this is proposed amendments and crucial to ensure that we can effectively accommodate the expanding needs to our community, maintaining quality of our programs, and provide a fair and organized environment for all participants. And those come as follow. Permit conditions for commercial use as written on the Parks and Field commercial use permit. And I did bring a copy of the permit that we have and that we created in order for the commercial permit part of the use. And I highlighted the areas that we would need to have stipulated and written as is on the amendment and for the procedure part. The reservation limitations, prohibited use and priority use of practice and games for general field reservations. That is the regular field reservation. So we have the permit with the commercial use, and then we have the field reservation. Again, we drafted it with the those limitations and rules and priority use on the reservation as well. So I will need to review, because we would need to have like our documentations pretty much match and everything. 3 is increased daily reservation time. Now this is just a suggestion because we are on part of the limitations, reservation limitations for general field use without commercial is overall to 2 days per week, 2 hours per day, multiple field reservation per coach and team not permitted. And the reason for this is we have more coaches, there's more leagues, there's more clinics. And what we're seeing is that a particular coach knows how to reserve, and he'll reserve his 2 days at one field, but nothing says that he or stops him from reserving another 2 days on another field. Well, therefore, another coach is not able to use that part because we have one coach reserving all the fields, right? And so we definitely need to make sure that we just limit overall fields to just 2 days, that one field only, for the 2 hours, or possibly increase it to what we were suggesting, maybe the 2.5 hours. And the reason for that, and I can explain very quickly, is that what I've been noticing on the field reservations is they do it from 5:30 to 7:30, which is the 2 hours. No one really reserves after it because it's too dark. They want to go home. And they try not to reserve it before because, they're getting out of work. But since there's no reservations really done after that, we can possibly increase it to 2.5 or 3 hours, depending, to be able to accommodate them that it's only going to be two practice days per coach overall in one field, not multiple fields per coach. So that's something that I would like to have amended and really specified.
Can I ask a question there?
Absolutely.
So the practice fields and all that, the 2 hours, this is from say like Sunday to Sunday, right? So like on weekends, if they're practicing, because teams could practice in the morning, you know. Um, so I understand that. But my question is, we have teams, we have multiple teams, we have softball teams, we have baseball teams, now we have all these travel teams. I think we have a travel team in for softball, I know, in 8U, 10U, 12U, and 14U. So if these coaches do their practices during the week, um, like 2 hours, and reserve one day a week, okay? On the weekends, are we limiting to just that 2 hours during the week? And if there's space on the weekends, what if nobody's claiming those times?
So, to correct, it's 2 days.
2 days.
2 days, right? 2 hours, hoping to accommodate up to 2.5, you know? It is a reservation that is open Monday through Sunday. But we are needing to make sure that going back to the priority part of the stipulations needing to be written on the ordinance and procedures is that we give the sport on that season priority.
Right,
And they're definitely able to do on a Sunday, on a Saturday, whatever time they want, as long as it doesn't interfere with the sport that's on the season and their schedule. But what I'm noticing is typically they don't like to. Typically, it is Monday through Friday, 5:30 to 7:30, and everybody fights for that slot, and everybody fights their 1.5, 3 to 4, because that's what they want on their practice, you know. And it's unfortunately, it's we have to limit to just 2 days, one field, per coach. They're open to do it on Saturday and Sunday. I mean, it's really open. All
And
7 days of the week.
how often, no, not how far in advance do they have to reserve these fields?
It's first come, first serve. It's first come, first serve. So I mean,
I can schedule out.
we have some that schedule out.
For like a year, like.
Not a year. No one's really done it a year. It's been more like 6 months and under, or 5 months and under. You know, it's pretty much the senior coaches that have been here for a while, you know, they've been in the boards members, you know, part of the board member they already know, or they've done their clinics, they know that they need to reserve ahead of time. So but they're aware that it's first come, first serve. And then we try to accommodate them as much as possible. That's another thing that we also want to make sure that it's on our standard procedures is how we reserve it, so they can know what are our steps on how we reserve them. Because reservations are being done here at the city hall, because the form is there and then they scan it over to me, and then I personally call them and I review the schedule, and we open it up to the website, the calendar website, for them to see, in order for me to be able to confirm, okay, it's not really fully confirmed until I review that there's availability or if I can accommodate, and then I get my park supervisor approval. Once all that is done, then, okay, it's good, you can sign it, he signs it, and then we go ahead and call him, okay, it's been confirmed, you're approved, you can view it in the website. And so that's something else that we need to.
And my last question, do we have a list of all our fields and,
Yes, I
Like,
do.
It's right here.
oh, is it on the very back? I'll look at that.
And then additionally, on the website, if you go to how do I book a city facility, you can actually see the calendars, and it has a calendar for each field as well.
Which was updated this year by Geo Records keeping and myself. We went ahead and updated the list of all the fields and all the recreational parks that we've had, including official addresses for all of those.
Why do we not allow them to use game fields to practice? Like our high school, Sul Ross, they use the field that they play on to practice. Why do we not open up those fields for practice as well?
I can't really,
I believe it's the upkeep, like, you know, the striking the lines and things of that nature is originally why, because they'd have to go through and remark the lines. However, we are exploring a partnership, you probably are aware, with Alpine ISD for collaborative use of manual paint field. So that might change, but they would also be helping with the upkeep and maintenance.
Yes, which is,
Well, and I noticed too, the Sul Ross that's under negotiation right now.
So can you speak to that, Adri? They were letting us use those fields.
will be, to be more precise on which fields, because we also named certain ones, like we also named the soccer fields, just to make sure that there's no confusion on that. The fields that we're specifically in charge of for maintenance, not necessarily that they're the city's property. Those Sul Ross Field 1, 2, 3, and 4, they're the ones by Avenue F.
On the south side.
On the south side, they're
Not the rec fields, not. the
they're
rec fields.
next, no, they're next to the
The soccer field, all that back in there, right?
no, Avenue F is located right next across the tracks, right next to the railroad.
Okay.
Right next to the railroad, you pretty much have like the Soros
Is it behind the Sarah softball fields back there?
way back there, yes.
That whole empty
I think
spots.
it intersects with Regan, if I'm not mistaken. It's Avenue F and Regan. So you have your track, the Soros track right there. And you have a bunch of Soros fields, but the ones that we're in charge of are back there. Pretty much with the intersection of Regan, if I'm not mistaken. And you would have on the south side of Avenue F, the field 1, SRSU field 1, right across it, next to the train tracks, the Soros 2, and then 3 and 4.
Do we have signage out there?
Yes.
Okay.
We did that this year. We place labels on the fields.
So I got a quick question. Where you're saying teams, so what's considered a team? Because it's been brought to my attention as a councilman that like you have teams that were wanting to use it, but there's certain individuals that have 1 or 2 people that that are out there with 1 or 2 kids. So where does this go? Like when you say teams, like say somebody reserves this field, but then you got, and they're out there, I don't know, doing whatever they're doing with 1 or 2 kids.
Mhm.
But then there's a team there that really would like to get on the field and can't because this person or persons have 2 kids on there because they have it reserved. And I mean, it's been brought to my attention quite a bit. And I kind of want to see where
Where we're at that.
we're gonna draw the line on this thing. Like, I understand when we're saying teams, I'm talking about 8, 10, 12 kids, a team.
Uh-huh,
Softball, baseball would be minimum of 9,
yes.
Like, is that something we need to put within an ordinance?
Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
if, like, say somebody has a reserve and they got 1 or 2 kids because they reserved it, or 1 kid. And well, the team shows up and like, well, is there any way we can get on? Well, no, I reserved it, it's mine. So we're having that issue, I'm guessing, from what I've been told.
So, just to clarify and to confirm, you're pretty much wanting to differentiate teams over clinics.
Clinics or privates.
Or
I
private.
guess.
Yes.
A parent could, grab 5 or 6 from one team.
The field reservation is pretty much open to any of us. There's nothing that really, but we do want to, and I want to get back to that because that's actually part of what we're wanting to have amended and stipulated on the ordinance. So I'll get back I'll move forward with these and then I'll get back because they're actually mentioned in this.
Okay.
So, with that, we wanted to make sure that with those, reservation limitations that I have mentioned in order, the prohibited use and priority use of practice and games for general field reservations, we also are wanting to have that amendment as written here for the commercial use that I was mentioning. So that goes with what I mentioned earlier with the commercial limitations and use and and,
We already stopped the
Practice.
commercial use though, right? We've already.
so it's written in our stuff, but it's not written specifically how it needs to be written in the ordinance and the procedure. So that's what we want to make sure that it's amended.
Mhm.
Because that will pretty much identify what is able to be done, what source or entity is able to do it or not. So not to go fully in detail with that, but it is part of this initial first mention that I made for the commercial use and the general reservation field. Because nothing really states that we can or we cannot. It's pretty
Well,
much,
our ordinance does state that commercial use has to be approved by permit currently. So we created a permit form, and in the permit form, we, basically does not state, we added in there that it would be prioritized for teams.
and I can mention, but I was referring to as far as like your question as with teams or, individual person or clinic with two or 12. That's something that will need to be added. If you're gonna minimize it, have a minimum in order for them to reserve the field, that needs to be placed on the ordinance and our procedures.
And I
And there's
understand
nothing for
clinic,
that.
I understand clinics, I understand teams, but what's been brought to my attention quite a bit is like, say you got a coach and I got two girls that I'm coaching on my own. It's not a clinic.
Mm.
And supposedly they're getting paid for it. You
Mhm.
know, that's not really a clinic. They're not holding a clinic because the clinic's held for anybody is my understanding when I've been to clinics and things like that. And usually it's like commercialized, I'm guessing, not just an individual, like saying me to go out there and like, well, I'm gonna reserve this field and just so I can mess with one or two kids and, and I'm getting paid for it. It's those little things that I think we need to kind of bring up on our ordinances and things like that on.
Yes,
You know,
which is
dispenser-
what we have here. So I'll read it just so we can go clarify. I think additionally is your limitation of how many. Because you do bring up a valid point. If we have someone who reserves a field and they're only gonna have 2 children there, then, are we gonna allow that? Or do we need to make sure that they have it? First, number of practices
Mhm.
and on. So that's something that we do need to add. And I did not have that. That's definitely something that we'll need to add. As far as like, cause you're needing more on the commercial part, I'll read through what we have. That needs to make sure that it adds on all the documentation. Is reservation limitations. We already went over all 2 days per week, 2 hours per day, multiple field reservations per coach team not permitted. Prohibited use pursuant to section 74-13 of the Alpine Code Ordinance, commercial activities, classes, or programs for compensation and prohibited in city parks unless specifically authorized per permit. What needs to be amended on the ordinance is that the priority of use for the practice and game fields are reserved free of charge for team practices and games to encourage and promotional field use for the teams over commercial activity or personal profit, with the exception of authorized fundraisers or special events. Permits for commercial use at practice and game fields will not be approved with the exception of authorized fundraiser or special events, which is what we want to make sure is clarified.
And we are.
In all those.
So people
Yes.
who were charging are no longer charging, right?
Yes, they were notified. They're notified, the reservation wasn't to that point, it's not gonna be. I think there might be one till December that. Since it was already permitted, we're just letting them know this is not gonna be allowed, that's already gonna be on the ordinance, it's. It won't continue, so I believe I mentioned to a couple of them, so everybody pretty much has been called on that. And with the commercial part of the application, we also have it written and stipulated with all that, which again, I'll offer these two for review. I'll move forward for the next things that we also want to include on the amendment is the prohibited items, under prohibited items in the ordinance, which is no metal detectors allowed. And with that, comes with the digging restrictions of no digging without supervisor permission. Reason for that is ruining our fields, is ruining our parks, metal detectors, they're digging up, making holes. It's like, we definitely don't want that,
Oh.
right?
okay.
But we are aware that we need to specify the digging restrictions because of that, which will be no digging without supervisor permission, because of course, there'll be instances that we'll need to make like coaches sometimes help us from the sports boards on making sure that the fields are prepared or the part of the park is prepared for the sports season. And they'll be allowed to dig certain areas with the supervisor's permission, because he works together with them to make sure that no sprinklers or anything are gonna be damaged, So we just wanna make sure that that digging restriction is incorporated with the prohibited no metal devices part. Any questions on that part? Okay, moving forward. Field, another issue that's pretty much come up, and we want to make sure that we also, because there's nothing written on ordinance or in our procedures, is the field electrical use during daylight savings time, which is the only time that we really see that we have an issue with this. We're requesting a firm decision on limitations, prohibited use, consequence if they leave it on and that we're permitted to turn on, and priority of use. Like that way it's stipulated in our ordinance and our procedures. There's no questions from here on to the future. Any questions on that part? And again, the issue with that is right now, we don't see fairness. We don't want to say yes to these and no to those. We want to make sure that that is fair and is written and anybody can go back to it. We also have a recommendation with that is to have the reservations moved to an earlier time to prevent excessive electrical use and therefore expense for the city. I do know that our football coaches are really good. They're usually around this daylight saving time. They automatically know, and they let the parents know, daylight savings is coming, so we'll be moving our practices to 5 o'clock to allow them, that time change. There's nothing that really stops any other sports coaches to do that as well. Reservations before 5:30 are never really done. It's usually after work, everybody works, so it's usually from 5:30, 7:30, like I mentioned earlier. So that's something that we can recommend, is for them to also be able to have that in mind, and nothing. They can let me know we're moving our reservation to 5 o'clock because of daylight savings, and that's perfectly fine. That's a recommendation to try and help out with the electrical use, because we need to consider, we'll have the lights on, but then that also brings too many things into factor that we need to consider and make sure that we have regulations to follow so it can be fair. Like I mentioned, the consequence if they leave it on. Another thing that goes with that is the clarification of who will have the final decision to give the authorization for the use of the lights during daylight savings, because we need to stipulate it as well. I know that park supervisor and director of public works will say no, well, it's difficult right now, but then it would go, I think, the hierarchy for city manager and so forth. So we want to kind of make sure that everything's like straight. Who will have the final authority in order for us to have it clear and exact for everything. And another reason he wanted to mention on that is because sometimes it also depends upon the crew availability. Right? Who's going to be able to be available for that? And what does that bring? My following thing to try and make sure that we also add to an amendment in the ordinance is the keys to field lights. Allowed to be held by sports board presidents or designated board members. So we want to make sure that it's also really clarified on the ordinance and our procedures. Who exactly is going to be permitted? In the past, it's been brought to my attention that, keys have been allowed and permitted to certain individuals and then somehow get copied and unauthorized individuals haven't. And so just to prevent any type of issues like that, I really feel that with the electrical use of the field lights is for us to really have like all those rules and what you want and what is suggested and have it really marked like that. There's no question and we don't have to go back and forth. Any questions at that part?
So talking about the field lights and things like that, you know, even bringing practice down, say you start at 5.
Mhm.
I'm looking at my watch at 6:20, it's dark.
Mhm.
So even then, lights are gonna have to be used, you know. Don't want any kids, anybody getting hurt, you know, out there. So I understand what you're saying, you know, and you know, giving keys to certain people, or if they reserve it for a certain time, you give that key and then something you put down like, okay, this is issued to you. Write it down. This thing will get turned in at the end of the year or at the end of the term. Right? You don't turn it in, it's a X amount of dollars of fine. You know, and then maybe we don't ever get nothing back, you'll never be able to use it again.
Mhm.
You know, things like that. I'm guessing that's stuff that y'all are working on, right?
Yeah, well, we're open to the ideas. We're open to possible consequence ideas. We're open to as a list of, you know, if it's just board members or certain, you know, designated individuals, you know, we're definitely open that. Part of the reason of moving it to 5 o'clock for daylight savings is not only to just restrict, but also to try and accommodate another 30 minutes for them to be able to have more daylight and also to help the city reduce, you know, instead of another full hour of electrical usage, you know, 30 minutes less. So it's, we're trying to get also like board ideas on that in order for us to move forward and have something in time for the amendments.
Even with the key thing, you could do a combination, a changeable combination thing also, if you're worried about people holding on to keys. There are combinational locks and stuff that can be changed periodically.
See, thank you. That's a great idea. And
That
so,
way you don't have to worry, okay, well, you have this combination, it's good for 30 days or, which is a pretty simple thing once you, if you get the right kind of locks and
yes,
then that way it's, you don't have to worry about the physical key of returning it, making a deposit and all that.
that is a great idea. So that's pretty much the reason why I'm also bringing all these. And I can email and copy everybody with all this stuff for everybody to review. Because part of the reason for me to bring these up is also to get ideas. In order for us to be able to set a proper procedure and have it in an ordinance like that, everything's, you know, the same across the board. So, and that's an idea that I'll ask if you can kindly please add to that. Because it is a good idea. It is a solution. Because a lot of things have been coming up and we're, along with all the busy routine that our parks crew has, it's kind of like, when do they start to try and think over? I'm trying to help them as their administration as much as possible, taking over a lot of the, like, calling the people to get quotes, calling people to try and get information and all the administrative part of it. So I'm definitely available to try and take a lot of that load off from David.
And it's perfect timing because this time last year, and Iris is familiar, I believe she's the only one on the board at that time. But we spent months, the Parks Board, going through the ordinance and implemented a whole lot of structure. So it's just perfect time to revisit it and see what's been working. Adri, now that she's been looking at it, has some great ideas as to updates, and we could get that ordinance in front of the board to see with your updates or recommended updates and to see what y'all think on how we can improve it. So we don't have a meeting scheduled for December, but we do have one scheduled in January. If y'all like, we can schedule one for December. But regardless, if not, Adri can work on getting, I guess, initial updates. She can work back with me so we can do the strike through version of how what we currently have. Add any additions with underlined text and strike through and any omissions, and then get that before y'all so y'all could get the input. What do y'all think?
So, okay, if we're not gonna have a meeting till January, right? And then trying to get things passed through, even through the council, well, the proper change, right?
Mhm.
January is a new year.
Yeah.
So whatever is gonna get implemented, we're gonna have to wait a little longer, you know, and why not? I mean, I'm not opposed to if we have a meeting in December, so we can start trying to push all this stuff through, so maybe we can have things implemented by January,
Would you be
because
able
it's the
to
start
have-
of the year. And kind of start fresh and say, okay, from here on out, this is what we're gonna do, this is how it's gonna be done.
Okay.
And, you know, if you like it, fine, if you don't, well, sorry, it's an
So
order.
December tenth, would everybody here be okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And Adri, would you be able to get me or get with me to work on a draft of the ordinance with changes by the third or so? A couple of weeks. If
So-
not, we could at least take what you have in the list, provide the ordinance without any changes, and then we could work to actually incorporate the ordinances for the January. meeting. Does
Yeah,
that sound okay?
that buys us a month.
Mhm.
So at least we get to continue the discussion.
Yes.
Right?
So I'll freely actually let you know, two reasons why I will probably have to go over from this until I can be able to do that for Geo. And the reason being is, one, most important for me is that I'm gonna be going under a surgery. Gonna be having a surgery, so I'm gonna be pretty much out a whole week. So that's gonna delay me on this, and I'm currently also working on the fire safety policies and procedures and binder for maintenance for all the buildings, the EOPs, standard procedures for my department, and other stuff on my list. So I do, I mean, I can definitely try and bring that forward since we'll be having that, but
Well, like
It
Gio
wouldn't be
said,
by
whatever
December
you have
3rd.
presented now, send that over to them. We have something in December, something else to kind of talk about. And then, so we can move forward, and hopefully in January, you know, we can get everything really like going so that we can get it done as soon as possible. And I get it, because, you know, nothing's ever been done on anything, so. And kind of like us on the council, and like, sorry that y'all are having to do this, but. You know, a lot of this stuff never been brought up but it's important, you know.
I
we
think it's
have
a
to-
positive thing.
Yeah.
It's a positive thing, because even though it looks like, oh my gosh, we're being rained out on all these things that are coming up, I think that we have the right staff that have been, you know, noticing these things and are definitely willing to make sure that we bring everything to par and that we do what we can to keep things in accordance, in the best interest of the community, because we definitely have priority of safety and making sure that everything's, you know, in
Mhm.
accordance and fair all across the board.
Yes.
So I definitely see it as a positive thing. Even though I mentioned that, you know, I would just probably need a little bit more time, it doesn't take away that if I have some time that I'll be able to dedicate throughout these remaining days before the surgery to try and do the, you know, updates on the amendment.
I think if
I
you
might
just
be
get
able
the
to.
notes in front of them, they could workshop it, look at the ordinance, how it is, provide any recommendations, that you could prepare that for January, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So are y'all thinking any other items for the next meeting? I have a appointment of a chair, vice chair, and secretary, but other than that. Do you think we need to discuss anything else? One endeavor that we need to look at is signs and parks. Those are to be updated.
Can I ask one last question about the park, the baseball and softball field?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
How often do we require them to renew their reservations?
You mean like a follow-up procedure for the
Like if I'm
reservation?
reserving the field in January and I say I'm gonna reserve it till June. Like, is that just one thing? Like we cannot say like every quarter, we're gonna start with new reservations, like quarterly. To give other people a chance to get on the field.
Instead of booking it like I book it in January, I
Yeah,
got it till January of next year.
New coaches are at a disadvantage on that.
That would.
I mean, or even a lottery
Can add to the
system.
ordinance.
I mean,
Mhm.
lottery systems are very easy to do also. It's.
So, I mean, I'm the one that's responsible for that. I know, even though we get a recreational coordinator, I'm still gonna be responsible for this part, for the field reservation, just because I already have a good grip on it. there definitely needs to be a time limit frame stipulated on the ordinance. Right? As far as follow-up, what typically happens and I've come across and I've been doing is when I do a reservation and for instance, what I've been noticing is that they're typically, let me see, they start all-stars and after the softball practice, they'll start reserving all the way to
Yeah,
December.
for travel team.
Yes, for travel teams. And it's pretty much December is where I'm seeing like from early mid of the year, like April, June, from there to December. So when I have someone try to reserve that and that field that's already taken by something like that, then I definitely do call if it's something that takes priority, like during a sport season and so forth. I call and I let whoever reserved priorly, I'm sorry, prior to this one, I let them know ahead of time. Just know that your reservation can be stopped temporarily in order to accommodate the sports coaches that take, that are really stipulated to have that priority. Most of the ones that have reserved have not really given me any problems and they're aware and they're willing to, no problem. We'll stop our practices to allow them as long as we're able to continue them again after that, which is usually what I'm seeing. That's the only follow-up really as it comes. There's nothing that's been in place as that I have to check it quarterly because there's no limitation. time
Right, I
period
think
limitation.
that if we put a stipulation like, okay, every quarterly, 3 months, you have to renew your reservation. During the week, I'll tell you, people don't practice like often because we have volleyball, soccer, like all these other practices. So teams that are city leagues, they'll practice during the week, but then we have all these new travel teams, and those are the teams that practice on the weekends. So if one person is reserving the field for 6 months out of a time, that doesn't give all our other travel teams a chance on a field that's decent enough to practice on.
So, and that, to add to that is where, everybody's kind of fighting for Manual Pain right now. Because that's the best field they got, which, it is. And everybody's trying to get on there with lights, with whatever, and it's hard. Yeah, we have a list of fields here, but how many are actually to where these kids can play where it's decent enough? I mean, I can sit here and go through a bunch of these and they're not, and that's something us as a board, as a council, which we have brought up. And I did mention this in the last board meeting, council meeting, sorry. That here in Alpine, these fields are really, really big for our youth. There's, soccer fields, baseball fields. I mean, sports and rec is all these kids have here in Alpine. That's all we got, and it's our time now that I'm glad we're doing all this, between the council, our board, our board's filling up, which is awesome. It's great. With ideas and what we need to do to improve everything, to get things going, and I mean, I'm not just stopping on these baseball, softball field, the softball field, take care. Baseball fields, Little League baseball is in bad shape. International, our soccer field, is in really, really bad shape. And it's so bad that even that they're using a baseball field to play soccer on. Why aren't we need to figure something out to where we have a soccer field, where all these kids can play. You got Little League, you got small kids, which don't need a full size, and getting games like getting a really nice soccer field. Then you divide it in half and you got little games going on with all the little kids. And then later on in the day, it's when the big kids are playing. But where I have an issue is, why are we using a baseball field to play soccer on? Because we should have our own soccer fields. These kids, that's big. I've always been told that how many kids get registered for soccer every year? It's huge, like tons and tons. And, and I know that we're all kind of working on things, now that we got a full board that, You know, this is why parks and rec boards are made up for this type of stuff, you know? And then present it over to the council. But this is something that's really big, you know, weighs on me a lot is, especially for the kids here, the youth, we have nothing, you know, other than these little things, you know, and it's sad that, you know, no one's ever really paid much attention, or if they have paid attention, no one's really mentioned nothing about any of this stuff. You know, I've walked through fields, I've been through Big Bend Little League, it's bad shape, you know, and you know, I've been over at Manual Payne walking through with Alpine ISD and things like that. Been over to the International, been over to, we call it Centennial or Lionsfield,
Wow.
Val Lujan, you know, things like that. That's kind of been neglected. I don't know where the American League, oh, that one's back over there.
That one's pretty rough too.
Yeah, that one, right? Is that where they put a bunch of,
It's,
Okay.
it's for the smaller kids.
and Pueblo Nuevo is which one?
It's the one that just got added on the south side.
Billy Joe is across the street.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I mean, this is stuff that we need to take pride in and like I've mentioned before, even on the council, like people love coming down here visiting, right? So that's what we're working on with brings in hot tags. You know, people, we want to have tournaments here. We want to bring people want to come down here. You know, you have your baseball, softball, soccer tournaments, you know, bringing in people, which brings money to our community, you know, but we can't do that till we get things right, you know,
We
and I know we're making strides and getting that way. And I know it's not gonna all happen all at once. I get that.
Yes.
But that's something that we need to talk about and be brought, you know, it has to get brought up because otherwise it never will and nothing will ever happen.
Well,
At least the talks are going, you know, right
yes,
now.
yes, no, absolutely,
I
and
know
very
it's not gonna happen
agreeable.
overnight.
We're on the same board with that. One, I'm gonna respond as far as like which fields get used more and the condition. We definitely see which fields are the more popular ones, Manual Payne and Baluhan,
Mhm.
right? The most popular one. Everybody fights for those, right? And then they're like, let me take the other ones. The last ones are the Solras. We don't own them. We just can maintain, but that's all we can do. Just
Mhm.
maintain, not really improve them. If it was up to the park supervisor and funds were not an issue, he would artificial grass
Yeah.
all baseball fields and the soccer fields.
So.
There's
yeah.
no funds. As far as the soccer fields, reason why the international field is used for that is because the soccer field is only as big.
Mhm.
For whatever reason, the boards, we have upper field, this year I labeled them. Upper soccer field 1, upper soccer field 2, and lower soccer field. Right? They still didn't use field 1. They were really just on field 2 and then the lower field.
So can you,
We did not really permit they still did the games over there in the international, so that's the decision of how the field is used is by the soccer board. If, as far as improving it, you know, we try and maintain it. You can never beat a groundhog, or what are they called, golfers? We can never beat a golfer. They're there. We're gonna have holes, and unfortunately, we can only do it right before, you know. This year, what we tried to do, and this was David, our park supervisor, along with the soccer board member, is like, we're not gonna allow any practices on the soccer field. Figure out where you're gonna do it, and the school helped us out with that to disperse the teams in other areas, so we can maintain the soccer field for the actual games, right? To improve it, from taking it aside from just maintaining it, we can only maintain it until a certain level, but to improve it, well, we love to, but what are the funds,
yeah,
you know?
and
It's-
that's where.
and where can we get them?
Yeah, so.
give
and
us
that's-
grants, and
That's
we'll
what we're at,
definitely do
is,
it.
you know, we're working on the council, we're working on budgets and things like that, and we're not gonna have any definite numbers anytime like really, really soon, because it's backed up, right? So, but like I said, the only reason I'm bringing it up, just to at least talk about it. You know, we understand it's not gonna happen overnight. I get that, but at least get it noticed. You know, these things are big, and I get the whole artificial thing. I've been bringing that one up.
Yes.
I
and
get it. It's
those are
expensive.
Talks that I guess internally, because we're aware of like what funds and how, and what we have in order to improve that I know firsthand by David that there's not enough funds or ideas, because certain ideas of his to improve the baseball fields and improve the soccer fields have been turned down because of that reason. So they're definitely something that us in our department have internally, expressed amongst ourselves, and we've kind of tried to just kind of put the idea there. I'm glad you mentioned it, because now you gave me the green light to speak on what he would like to do. He definitely,
Absolutely.
love
We have
to do all
be
that.
Cognizant that the leadership has changed as well.
Yes.
I mean, we can have the discussions again, and, it's important to Joe remember that.
Yes.
because it's not up to us.
Mhm.
We have to go
Yeah.
down the hierarchy role, or how do you
Yes.
call that, right? The hierarchy role.
Mhm.
And then if we get approved, then we move forward.
Yes, ma'am. No, like I said, I mean, it was just something to be brought up, and because I get emails a lot too about soccer fields and this and that. It's like, I get it, but it's a process.
Mhm.
There's steps to everything, and I go, like everything else, nothing happens overnight, but at least we're all aware, and it's something that at least we'll try to work, we're gonna work on it and try to move forward.
And we're with you. We're
Yes.
definitely with you, because we also have children in the sports field, and we're seeing it. We're just limited to us what we can do
So
upon
can
how it
you
goes.
explain really quick, what's soccer 1, soccer 2, soccer 3, where are those, what's
So,
the main soccer
the
field?
main soccer field
Soccer. field,
adjacent to Coconut Park, in between the international field and the golf course,
Mhm.
right? North, south. Upper soccer field 1, upper soccer field 2, or vice versa right there, I believe. And then the lower soccer field,
That's right next to the soccer.
right next to the
batting
batting
cage.
cages. Which, even though it was labeled, the soccer field boards, the soccer boards still labeled them differently. Cause I noticed that they were describing the lower soccer field as the batting cage field.
Yeah, batting cage.
Yes, so I mean, they're labeled 1, 2, lower soccer field. Why did they decide to give them their own labels? I don't know. Why did they decide to only use this one field, upper field right next to the lower one? Primarily, I don't know.
See the other one being used too, I think for the older kids.
So
Yeah,
whether
I
it was
saw that.
reserved only for that, and that's the only time they're gonna use it. Usage of it, again, is literally by the
Soccer.
board, yeah. Yeah, but we did try to, like I said earlier, remove the practices there in order to be able to keep it as maintained as possible with our parks crew
Mhm.
for the games.
And I also know that Parks crew is really shorthanded also.
Yes, sir. And
Just like
even more now,
everything else.
because we do have an employee that is currently unable to be working right now for medical reasons. So right now, it's David and 3 park workers,
Mhm.
When it's usually 4.
when it's usually 4 workers plus the park supervisor, which I still believe is the skeleton crew.
Okay.
All ideas, list them, email them to me. We will never forget those, I can guarantee, because if the funds are there and if they're approved through the hierarchy, we're definitely wanting to do.
Yes.
I think it's a good idea to put all of them on the board and see where we're at with everything and see what we need to do with everything and see where we're, have it on there and not let it get forgotten about either.
Mhm.
But slowly work on them. You see what each problem is with each one or what needs to be done.
And just to confirm, is that something you'll be doing or would I be needing to do that?
No, I think that's something we could do.
Yeah, that's just-
Yeah.
I would appreciate the help.
Yeah, so we could
I would
go through
definitely
it.
appreciate it. I mean, we kind of know similar to that, but for all the written stuff like that, I will be taking that task for David. So if you're able to go over there and kind of outline it park by park, field by field, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We can Google share the updates.
Will you be sending us those documents?
Yes, I can show them to you at the end of this and I can also
You can share
like
'em.
send the update.
Yeah, you got
Scan them.
scanner.
Yes.
Okay.
Alrighty, so like I said earlier, I have the ordinance to discuss on December 10th. As far as the parks the parks ordinance in general. The reservation process for city fields and then the appointment of officers. Do y'all have any other items? Y'all are thinking about adding? Alrighty, and then you'll forward that to me and I can forward that to the board.
And I will add also a reservation guide that we currently have for the front office that is the first person that they go to reserve before they scan it over to me.
Anything else?
One question, is the reservation paper, is it done by paper or is it done online? Is there an online option?
So we do not want an online option. We would like in person by paper here at the office. And the reason for it is because we do not want to risk myself.
Losing
Yes,
Okay.
having an email that for some reason I didn't view and it got placed in the back burner and then all of a sudden, I have a paper field reservation that came in here and I gave it priority. And I missed it, when it's first come, first serve. I definitely do not.
We had it at one point and we had issues with people thinking it was reserved already and it wasn't because she didn't approve. So when they come in, the staff will tell them this is not final till the administrative assistant reviews it, et cetera, et cetera.
And once you review it, it's on an online calendar.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll send y'all the link.
So they
Okay.
can see beforehand what's even available.
Yes,
before
so-
they make the request.
So the process is pretty much, they go in person here at the city hall. And they do their paper reservation of the field or the commercial part, which we're gonna have them do the commercial part and the field reservation together if it's commercial. If it's just the general field reservation, they'll fill it out there. We have the person up front, let them know, give them my card and let them know it is not confirmed, it's not final until I give them a call because once she scans it over, number one, I need to cross-reference with the website calendar to the reservations. I have my binder, so it's my paper and my online that I want to make sure I cross-reference. If I see everything is clear, pretty much check, then it moves to the next step, which is I get approval from our park supervisor who needs to give me that approval. If I get approval from him and everything's fine and dandy, then I go ahead and add it on the calendar. Then I go ahead and proceed to calling the person that reserved and letting them know, okay, your application for reservation for the field has been approved. You can go ahead and view it in the Alpine website. If I see that there's any contradictions or we need to, not approve it, or we need to accommodate other things, I call them and I let them know, okay, so we need to accommodate this way, or I try and work with them and see what I can do. I try and look for other fields with them, inviting them to the website. And then once I kind of get that clarification, I let them know, okay, let me go ahead and get that signed and then it will be approved within, and I give them a secondary call. Okay, your recommendations were approved. It's now on the website.
Is there ever an opportunity to just have that the one-stop shop? As far as, I don't know what this person who is initially getting to where everything can be done right there versus going through you, then through David, then through.
It's not
I'm just
ideal
asking to
because
maybe
we don't,
streamline
we
it.
don't manage the public works, like that's our administrative employee. and
Okay,
she's
I
the
got it.
host.
So it's two different, I got you. So they're just doing
And
form.
it just highlights the need for our additional office space that we need, so like, we'd love a new city hall where everybody could be at one
Right,
spot, it's just
right.
that that's the issues, we don't have any.
Okay, I know how busy she is and
Yes.
And it's definitely more productive for me to be at the yard where I'm in person with my park supervisor. I'm in person face to face with my public works director. And I mean, we get to have our meetings, we review things, it's easier for me to contact. It is just the whole works of it is just best. And
Yeah.
so the idea was just have it scan over, which they're very good at scanning over immediately.
okay,
The position has really grown over the years, but that position was actually created with them taking that
got
over.
it,
And
got it, okay.
in addition, we'll have the recreation coordinator as well, who will also not be located here because we don't have any space here.
I know,
Uh,
they'll get a shed.
So, yeah.
Nor here or at the,
Yeah.
or at my little office, right?
They're gonna be opposing at the old schoolhouse.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
So, that's-
I was gonna add something there, before I lost it, right there, it was right before that, I'm sorry. Another reason as far as why we have that process and because how Gio mentioned that we came up with those issues in the past and why we have this, procedure is because we also noticed the same thing, like for our pavilions, our park reservations. Which brings up, and something else I need to add. The pavilion reservations at the park, and this is specifically speaking the Coconut Pavilion adjacent to the pool, not the area with the benches next to the concession stand. That is free for whoever can go. That in the future Pueblo Nuevo Pavilion, which once we have everything with the electrical and everything, we're gonna be seeking the drafting of the rental agreement for that as well. Since it's bigger and it has more stuff, we might need consider like the pricing, if it's gonna be the same as the Coconut Pavilion or different. But the finance department is the one that has the authorization to reserve those, the pavilions, and the reason for that is because they're here and they deal with the money. I'm over there and it will be too hard to have them go with me and then come over here and back and forth. So the one-stop shop for the Pueblo, for the pavilion will be the finance department. And then they just scan over with me all the information and I keep track along with them. So we saw that same issue, which is what brought us to is like, okay, we can add this person as our first person that will be delivering all that information to me.
Alrighty, I'll email y'all with the items that I have so far in case y'all want to add any more, and then
And we have till when, Jim, again?
December 3rd at 5 p.m. And then I'll email you the link to the facilities reservation page. It's better viewed on a desktop than a phone, but you can still view it. Do y'all have any other questions for Adri or anything else?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And feel free to send an email, the public.works email. You all have it, correct? Everybody has my email?
We can get it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Feel free. I am available to respond to any questions. And if I don't know the answer, I definitely search for the answers and I'll get you one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adri.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Have a good evening.
Nice seeing everybody. too.
Have a good evening.
And then moving on to the next, action items, I don't see any. Moving on to board member comments, do we have any comments? Questions?
No, just glad we got a full board.
Yes, yes.
We're getting closer.
I think we got. one.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
been a while since we had a meeting. So it'll be fun to get everything going and.
Well, I do, like to thank, well, every one of y'all, but thank you to help this thing move forward, because we haven't had a meeting. Had one since I got elected and been put on this thing, and I'm really, really happy that this is gonna move forward. I think we're gonna have I think we're gonna have a really great group moving forward, and ideas and things like that, and like we said, all ideas are great. Just gotta bring them up, and we bring it up, our job here on this Parks Board, Parks and Rec Board, come up with stuff and then send it over to the council and, things like that. I mean, we have to talk about things. We
Parks
have
are
to
very
bring-
important for the city.
Yes,
Very.
yes. But thank y'all, everybody.
Meeting adjourned at 6:56 PM.